Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Monday night, July the 22nd. We're happy to have you in for another episode of the Prime Time program. We have a little bit of smack talk, not quite to the extreme, but there is some chirping going back and forth between the Titans and their Week 1 opponent, because the Titans and their Week 1 opponent feature a familiar face in Kevin Byard. So we'll let you know what KB had to say about playing the Titans and playing Will Levis for the first time since being traded away from the franchise this past offseason or this past season. We'll talk about projected win totals for Tennessee and wrap things up with whatever Bert's got in store for in case you missed it. We are really appreciative that you guys are here. We always appreciate when you stop by. We appreciate you even more. Let me see how many times I can use that word. When you share this broadcast. If you're hanging out on Twitter, please retweet the show. It's in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you're on Facebook Live, like Daniel Perez, who else do I see on Facebook? See a handful of you on Facebook. You can share not a public. That's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And if you're on YouTube, like Luman or B French or any of our other YouTube or Twitch viewers, please like the video, subscribe to the channel while you're there, and we will look forward to more of you guys popping in as this thing gets up and rolling. Let's do it. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the aforementioned Zen Sports. Plug in the promo code ATOZTN. Get up to $100 on your no danger first wager. ZenSports.com is how you make betting even better with the best sportsbook outfit out there, ZenSports.com, for more information. Of course, you know that Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet is where you go for quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet, or online at tworiversford.com, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. TrueMav Fitness in the Gulch, the place for you to get the best workout in Middle Tennessee, is TrueMav Fitness. Get that first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident at TrueMavFitness.com. So anytime you have a familiar face that is now an opponent on your upcoming schedule, there's going to be some level of dialogue around it, right? And that is indeed the case for Kevin Byard, who is now a member of the Chicago Bears. He signed a 2-year deal to go to Chicago after the Titans traded him to the Philadelphia Eagles last year, and that Philadelphia Eagles experiment went quite poorly. So, as many teams open camp, many teams have already opened camp, including the Chicago Bears. Kevin Byard has been asked about Will Levis and playing the Tennessee Titans, and we'll read those quotes for you here in just a second. But the Two Rivers Ford take, the place that we need to start as Kevin Byard prepares to make life hard for Titans quarterback Will Levis in Week 1. What game have you circled on the Titans' schedule this season as a game of particular intrigue, of revenge, of opportunity? What game do you have circled on this Titans' schedule that will throw up in front of me? At the Bears, Week 1. Home opener is Week 2 against the Jets. Packers and Dolphins, one home and one on the road. Of course, that's Monday Night Football against Miami. You have a game against the Colts in Week 6. It's your only AFC South game until after that, until at the Houston Texans, Week 12. And you've got some quality opponents with varying levels of competency, everywhere from the Detroit Lions, who were one of the best teams in the NFC last year, to the Cincinnati Bengals, who obviously the Titans have some kind of particular ties to, with people like Brian Callahan and Tyler Boyd on your roster in 2024. So which game on the Titans 2024 have you highlighted, have you circled, have you felt like is particularly intriguing? I see a couple of people saying the Texans, Corey Smith saying the Week 18 game at Houston, because they will be wearing the Oilers throwbacks for sure. Mike Keith said as much on the official Titans podcast. I believe last week is when that came to light. They wore them twice last year, but right now the only thing that we know, or the only time we know that they're going to wear the Oilers throwbacks, is in week 18, hosting the Houston Texans. Ching on Facebook Live says the Jets an early season test with a tough team on paper. Timothy Favors simply says the Bears in week 1, because there will be a lot of scrutiny on Caleb Williams. There will be less scrutiny on Will Levis and the Tennessee Titans. But if you want to be a big boy, go out there and win big boy games. And to be the adult in that situation, the more veteran team, the team that should, in theory, be more competent, be more functioning, because they've got a second-year quarterback. They've got a lot of veteran pieces around the roster on offense, defense, and special teams. Theoretically, the Titans should be the better team, despite Caleb Williams being in a favorable situation in Chicago. Bryce Erickson says, are we on any effery, we'll say, this evening, like this morning? I'm not sure what that's in reference to, so you'll have to fill me in on what might have taken place on the A to Z morning show. Either way, so Kevin Byard was asked a question about Will Levis, about playing the Tennessee Titans in week 1. And the comments were fairly benign, basically that they're going to make life harder on, or they're going to try and make life hard on Will Levis in week 1, given that there are plenty of reuniting opportunities with familiar faces. For example, Andre Dillard is now a Green Bay Packer. Whether he starts or not, and you get the opportunity to take a crack at him, remains to be seen. But Byard, for sure, after 8 seasons here in Tennessee, traded to the Philadelphia Eagles last year, 2-year deal worth $15 million. And, it's entirely possible that Kevin Byard ends up being one of the more famous players, or one of them. I mean, I don't know if he's a Ring of Honor candidate. He didn't win a Super Bowl here in Tennessee, but Kevin Byard is as good a representative of the franchise as anybody not named Derrick Henry in the last 8 years. So this is what he said of Will Levis. We're all anticipating it for sure, Byard told reporters regarding the week 1 showdown with Tennessee. I'm excited to try and get one against Will, talking about Levis. 27 interceptions during his time with the Titans, and I'm sure that getting a pick in off of Will Levis in week 1 at home, in his first appearance as a Chicago Bear, would be quite vindicating for Kevin Byard. Everybody likes to beat their old team, right? It's A.J. Brown whipping the goalpost with a towel as he smacked around the Tennessee Titans as a Philadelphia Eagle in his first game. That would have been 2022. I think that's the only time they've played AJ since that trade was made official. But games on the schedule that Titans fans have circled, or that you in particular might have circled based on your level of interest, there's probably a few that come to mind as I look at this schedule again. The Miami Dolphins game in week 4 is intriguing because it's the only nationally televised game. But I do think I'm more interested in the Colts in week 6 and at the Colts in week 16 than I am in either of the Texans games. And let me explain to you why. My expectation is not that you're going to compete for the division title this year. I mean, you will compete for the division title, of course. If you're playing football and you haven't played yourself out of the division, then theoretically you're competing for the division. But they're not the Houston Texans yet from my standpoint. We have to see a good deal more from this Tennessee Titans team to make any kind of assessments as to whether they are division-winning caliber, if they are division-winning quality. And to date, obviously, that's not been the case, though they'll have the opportunity to prove themselves as we work our way through this upcoming regular season. But I don't think of the Titans on the same playing field as the Texans. I do think of the Titans on the same playing field as the Colts. The Jags are probably a little ahead of both of those teams, given that both the Jags and the Colts, both the Titans and the Colts have significant question marks at quarterback. Anthony Richardson, even more of a question, because I believe last season, Anthony Richardson played 12 quarters of NFL football, only appearing in a handful of games, dealing with concussion and that shoulder injury. So the Titans and Colts are much more on even footing from my estimation. I mean, they are. I think anybody who's reasonable and rational about this stuff would say that the Titans are on closer footing with the Colts than they are with the Houston Texans, who stand to be the favorites in this division. So I would highlight the Colts games before I would the Texans, because I think those are the games you absolutely must win. If the Titans lose games to the Texans it will be expected. They will not be, hell, they're not favored, at least in the preseason offshore odds at places like BetOnline AG. The Titans are only favored in the preseason, or excuse me, only favored preseason in one regular season game, and that is against the New England Patriots, who expect to feature a rookie quarterback or Jacoby Brissett, and that is later in the year when the Titans will host the Patriots. That's the only game prior to the season beginning that the Titans have been projected to be favored in. So I think the Colts games are the two games that I would circle the most, because those are the more important ones, I think, for you to win. You can't get swept by any divisional opponents this year, and Indianapolis is closer to what you are. So to differentiate yourself in the division, you have to be able to take out teams like the Colts that are much closer to you than the Texans are. A to Z Sports Primetime is presented by Zen Sports. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN. Get up to $100 on your no danger first wager. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet at Zen Sports. So, I think that those are the two games. If you made me pick one opponent and the Titans will play them twice, I would probably go with the Colts. Dirk on YouTube says Tennessee is going to sweep the division this year. It's going to be easy. Sweep the entirety of the division. So they're going to go undefeated in 2 games against the Jags, 2 games against the Texans, and 2 games against the Colts. Highly unlikely. I would not, even as the most unrealistic and irrational among you, I think that is a pretty silly statement to make. Dirk says that the Colts suck. Well, last year they were a 9-win football team, and they did it without their starting quarterback. The Titans were not a 9-win football team, famously. They struggled their way to 6 wins, 3 of which were Tannehill, 3 of which were Levis, and they were a significantly worse team. Please tell me who the Indianapolis Colts have on the roster. Really good. No one other than the Jags or the Texans. No, the Colts have plenty of good football players. Jonathan Taylor is still an Indianapolis Colt. DeForest Buckner is still an Indianapolis Colt. I think their secondary is probably the weakest part of their team. Michael Pittman is a good football player. I really like Josh Downs, the slot receiver that they drafted out of North Carolina. I mean, there's plenty of players on the Colts roster who are quality, even if they're not like above average, unbelievable players. Colts were a 9-win football team last year. And if they won 9 wins, or if they got 9 wins without their starting quarterback and Anthony Richardson is healthy for a fraction of that, then it's reasonable to expect that the Colts could be a 10 or 11 win football team. I think it's also not beyond the pale that the Titans could be a 10-win football team. But I do think that Anthony Richardson has the highest ceiling of any of these 4 quarterbacks in the division. Higher ceiling than CJ Stroud, higher ceiling than Trevor Lawrence, higher ceiling than Will Levis. He's the most athletic quarterback in the history of combine testing. So to see all the different things that all 4 of these teams have done makes it a fun division, I think. But this is going to be a fascinating part of the discussion this year. Dirk says, Buck, if I was in front of you right now, I would have shown you Tennessee Titans stats history. I don't know what that has. I don't give a shit about history for the purposes of this discussion. What does history matter in all of this? What matters is what you do this year, your history. If your history was relevant, then the 5 straight wins against the Colts would have mattered en route to you getting swept by the Colts last year. Why are you caught up in the idea of history as being applicable to this year's team? Who gives a shit about history heading into a new season where you have a bunch of different unknown pieces and parts on all 4 of these rosters, and how they're all going to come together has no bearing in history, because these are completely and totally new teams, basically across the board in the division. If you wanted to cite to me history, that would be an off-season conversation. But ahead of a new football season, I don't know why you would be leaning on history as if it's any kind of relevant other than a nice stat for you to throw up on a screen during the course of a game broadcast. History has no relevancy in the upcoming football season, only for the purposes of discussion leading in. Beyond that, it doesn't matter once you start playing actual football. So I think that Eddie Courtney says Dirk is duck hunting with a rake. I just think it's and people are asking me to stop reading his comments because I understand that he's continuing to try and make a point. He's continuing to try and make a point that clearly he and I are on disagreeing or on disagreeable sides of this thing. But yeah, I just think it's completely ridiculous to have any kind of conversation like that have any bearing on upcoming events. Anyway, we don't have to get bogged down. Fair enough. When the Titans do take the field, however, they will be the team in the AFC South favored to win the least amount of games in 2024. They are only favored in one upcoming game this season, and their projected win totals, according to many of the sports books, are pretty anemic as well. So the question that we will ask you on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch is this: how many games do you believe the Titans will win this season? To hear Dirk tell it, they're going to win every game in the division, which is fine. He's entitled to his opinion. But there are a handful of you that I think will be a bit more rational about the way that this goes on. I think that the win totals will surprise many of you based on the amount of talent that this team has added, because it was fairly talentless last year, but there is a good deal more of talent that exists on this roster over the course of the last 6 months, we'll call it. So how many games will the Titans win this season? Let me know on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. We'll discuss at length together right after I remind you that the Primetime program is presented by TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMathFitness.com. Your first workout is free. As a Middle Tennessee resident, no workout ever recycled or repeated. TrueMath goes above and beyond to help you maximize your fitness goals. Group workout classes, personal training, or sign up for a membership and work out as you please in their top-notch facility. TrueMathFitness.com for that first workout free. So I see Chris Young, 9 wins. Curator, 8, 7, and 9 for Dylan Cole on Facebook, on YouTube. Karen Davis is saying 5. She's the first person I've seen go under the projected win total. Quentin Lane, 10. Frederick Ross says 8 or 9, about middle of the pack. 10 hard-fought wins, Vernon Sanford says in the comment section. So we were having this discussion today on the radio show, and I posed the question to the room and to the audience: could the Titans win 9 games and finish again in 4th place? Is there any scenario in which the Titans finish 4th place in back-to-back seasons, but you come away feeling better about your football team? Now, I think as soon as I say 4th place, as soon as I say last place, right, you're going to immediately say, well, no, the year would have been a complete and utter failure if the Titans finish in last place. And while I would agree that the season would be it would be a failure, a complete and total failure if you finished in 4th place, but it doesn't have to be to an extreme, right? If you finish in 4th place, but the division this year looks like the AFC North did last year, which is the Ravens as the number 1 overall seed, the Browns and the Steelers making the playoffs in the AFC as a wild card, and the Bengals winning 9 games but finishing in 4th place because they had injuries and situations that arose. If you presented me that kind of situation, which would be an increase for Will Levis of 6 wins from his rookie season to his 2nd year, if Will Levis went 9-8, that would be 6 more wins than he was able to scrounge together last year when he went 3-6 in that sample size. Again, the 4th place moniker is the thing that I think people will get hung up on. But I do think that with a division like this that features or figures to be highly, highly competitive, I think it's possible that a lot of these teams could win 9 or 10 games and be in a bit of a cluster, a log jam, trying to work their way through the AFC playoffs. And if the Titans end up a 9-win football team, but a 4th place finish, I think that there would be a lot of this. That you would still be able to take positives from, even though that would be a tough pill to swallow. Ed says, I don't think Will Levis will be the starting quarterback next season. If just in general, or if they finish in 4th place last year. or this coming year. I think context matters, right? Does Levis play well enough to win 6 more games than he did last year? If so, he's probably going to be the quarterback in 2025. But I think for the purposes of Will Levis and for the Tennessee Titans, the projected win total right now is 6.5. So all of you, except for Karen, who I saw said they will win 5 games this coming season, all of you would have been over the Titans' projected win totals in most sports books that you look at. 6.5 does feel low to me. If I was betting, and I don't bet the NFL because, obviously ethical reasons. If I was betting, I would probably bet the over on the Titans win total. I do think that they're a more talented team than a 7-win football team. I could see them as a 7-win football team. I could see them as an 8-win football team. I think that 9 is kind of a stretch. But 9 wins is probably 8 or 9 wins is probably about right for a team that should be at least pushing for a wild card spot. And I think that they are capable of pushing for a wild card spot, barring catastrophic injury that might derail them otherwise. So I'll say 8 wins, which would be +2 year over year. And I think that you would feel, and in the case of Will Levis, he would be +5 from a 3-win campaign that he had last year. So I think 8 games is a reasonable expectation, a reasonable bar for me to set at. I would bet the over on the 6.5 if I was betting with your money, but anything more than that, I think I would be pretty reticent to run along with. We'll bring Bert in for in case you missed it and see what he has brought to the table this week, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Go to GaryAshton.com. Get your dream address without the stress. The intel edge you need to succeed can be found with the official real estate agent of the Nashville Predators. That's GaryAshton.com. What do you got, Bert?
Does that work for you?
Does it work for me?
Just pretend it doesn't say Lauren. Just pretend it says just Bert Walsh. How about that?
Why wouldn't you just use that one?
Because it whatever floats your boat. We're coming into training camp, and there's a bunch of hullabaloo getting thrown all about the place. And today it was kind of a slow day, despite people going back to training camp. John Harbaugh had some comments about Lamar Jackson that the media kind of took and ran with.
The Ravens, and we've always had a vision for Lamar Jackson. It started with Lamar's vision and his mom's vision when he said he was going to be a quarterback. He was going to be a quarterback in high school. He's going to be a quarterback in college. He's going to be a quarterback in the National Football League. And we bought into that. We embraced it. We built an offense for it in 19. We're building another offense for it in 23 and 24 going forward, right? The next iteration of our offense around Lamar Jackson. Because in my opinion, the vision for Lamar Jackson, and it's a vision, it's something you see it like it's already happened. You can see it like it's already been done. The victory has already been won when you pour into a vision. And the vision that we have together is that Lamar Jackson is going to become and be known and be recognized as the greatest quarterback ever to play in the history of the National Football League. That's the vision, all right?
All right, so that's what John says. John says that is the vision. That somehow became Lamar Jackson is known as the greatest quarterback of all time.
Slow news, Doug.
They just had probably the most crippling loss of the John Harbaugh era since 2011. What do you say to a team that is once again respected at the top of the division, expected to go to the playoffs, expected to have double-digit wins? What do you say to that team other than to give them high and lofty goals, right? Because if you come into it and say, we're a good team, we're going to play well, the expectation's gone. They already expect to be a good team. They don't have to work towards it. They don't have to be great. They don't have to be the best at their position.
Oh, but Bert, it's so easy because people have been doing this with LeBron James and Michael Jordan for years. You can't say the greatest of all time or the greatest quarterback in history in any context and expect people to just go along with it, because they're not going to hear the word vision, right? They're going to completely black out when you mention Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow or, hell, until Patrick Mahomes wins as many as Brady, right? Even Pat is going to get a lot of that shit because Brady is the winningest quarterback in NFL history for all time. Certainly the most with the most championships, with 7 Super Bowls to his credit. So yeah, you're asking people to be nuanced in a time where there's no news, and Lamar is a polarizing figure. Lamar's been a polarizing figure his entire career, which is confusing to me because all he's done is win a Heisman at 19, win back-to-back MVP, or not back-to-back MVPs, but be a 2-time NFL MVP before the age of 28. Is Lamar even 28 yet?
He is 27. He'll be 27 this season.
Okay, so before age 28. So can you hit him over the head with he's not even Patrick Mahomes because his playoff record is lacking, and his playoff record is lacking? Absolutely fair. Yes, of course you can. But John Harbaugh should know, and Ravens fans should know, and anybody who's bothered by the idea that Lamar got caught up in the aggregation cycle should know that anytime you say greatest quarterback or greatest anything, that you're immediately going to be met with waves and waves of unending stupidity saying, no, he's not even Joe Montana. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
John Harbaugh should probably go into politics. I'm sure he could be a politician in Baltimore. His cadence, the way he lies through his teeth about everything. If Lamar truly wanted to be the best quarterback at something, I wish that he would try to be the quarterback with the best gut intestinal fortitude. Because I don't think there has been a star quarterback who has missed practice more because of a tummy ache than Lamar Jackson.
Now two back-to-back practices now?
I will say that remember the time he left the Browns game because he had to shit so bad?
Yes.
And he lied to everybody and said, oh, it wasn't that. I didn't have to poop. We all know that, Waddle. He still came back, threw a touchdown to Hollywood Brown on the 4th and 21. But our guy, who benefits the least from slow news days? People like Stephen A. Smith. People that have to talk about it. But you're my dude. Everybody should know that I mess with Stephen A. the long way. But he stepped in it today.
Well, first of all, I would appreciate it if he doesn't make up narratives because what he was saying was a lie.
What?
And number 2, I'd like him to look in the mirror. I respect the hell out of John Harbaugh. I think he's a great coach. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's an elite coach in the National Football League, but he also is somebody that is known for being incredibly honest. We respectfully, Coach Harbaugh, what the hell are you talking about? What is this critique and this criticism of Lamar Jackson? Where is it coming from? There's only one. You haven't been to a Super Bowl. You haven't won a Super Bowl championship. You're a 2-time league MVP. There are 9 people, Molly, 9 people that have won Super Bowl championship that have been 2-time league MVPs, okay? Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Brett Favre, Johnny Unitas, Joe Montana, Steve Young, Kurt Warner, and Patrick Mahomes. Every single one of them have won a Super Bowl championship but Lamar Jackson. That is all we say. Nobody's
saying anything else. I promise that no one is asking if Lamar Jackson is worth his contract. There's no way that anyone could possibly put their name, face, signature on a thumbnail questioning anything besides the fact that has he won a Super Bowl? Who would do something like that? Yeah, that suit is so fresh. I love the suit on Stephen A.
He his takes may be outrageous, but his fashion style is on point. Whoever does Stephen A. Smith's wardrobe is doing it correctly. I think that there is a lot of dialogue around Lamar. Lamar is an easy talking point, especially when he is in the spotlight this way, because there's still people stupid enough to be out there saying that, oh, he's just a running back, he's not a quarterback. Blah, 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 blah. It's just, so expecting an educational or a nuanced level of dialogue around Lamar Jackson, I have had no expectations for nuance around Lamar Jackson, basically his entire career since the Heisman Trophy season at Louisville.
It is what it is. And it's the gift that keeps on giving because we have maybe 3 more days. Really tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last day of non-discussion if you're a Tennessee Titan fan. So
not even only for you is that, because I've got press conferences during my show. So you
bastard.
Tomorrow is your last day of biting time. My drought, my desert oasis is on the horizon. I will be at press conferences tomorrow for Brian Callahan and Rand Carthon. We will carry them live on the radio show, and then 2 months of training camp broadcasts will begin. Bert is going to training camp for the first time, which
That's
will
right.
be, I'm sure, not problematic at all and not come up in any PR emails that I will receive about problematic behavior at an NFL practice facility.
Let's hope not. Just like Diamond Rio, it's one more day.
I just hope he wears a shirt. All right, that is going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate you guys spending your time here with us. Radio show tomorrow from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. We will be getting you ready for those press conferences. We will be talking about the amount of pressure on Will Levis, all things Titans, for the next couple of weeks as we ramp you up to the professional football season. Have a great rest of your evening. I will talk to you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Zone.
Go home! Go home! Go home! You're embarrassing Nashville! Go home!